Alright, so practice quiz 1 for working with y equals ax plus b, and we're looking at question number 4. Question number 4 looks a little bit more elaborate. As you can see, there's a couple of points that were given, a point A and a point B, and that should ring some alarm bells for all of us that we know we're going to be able to calculate something when we know 2 points that are in the line. And we've also been provided with a picture of the line, a graph, which is going to indicate some of the information that we know about that line. So for example, we can see our point A is indicated on that graph, and we can see that our point B is indicated on that graph. And we can also see that point C has an unknown associated with it. It's also in that line, and you can see that on the bottom of question number 4 we're going to be asked to deal with that point C eventually. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and look at the question, which says, build the rule y is equal to ax plus b for the line that passes through points A and B. And so this is a complete package problem here. We're dealing with 2 points, and we have to come up with the entire formula for y equals ax plus b, which means really we need to come up with the A and we need to come up with the B. Now, I've given some notes on this, and we've posted that to my Weebly page, so in order to find that B, you can go ahead and refer to those steps if you want to take a look in advance before maybe watching the rest of this video, but I will go through them again as I solve it for you now. So, before anything, 2 points right away, I should be writing down this formula, which we know, of course, is A is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In other words, I'm going to measure the change in y versus the change in x in order to determine the slope, rise over run. Right? How far up did I go, and how far to the right did I go when I went from A to B. And you should be able to make a prediction at this point that you're going to get a positive A, and you can see it because the line is, of course, sloped in the positive direction. And you might even be able to tell something about the points just by looking and thinking about the rise and the run based on the numbers. But if you didn't, that's no big deal. The formula will do it for us. And so we'll go ahead and label our points x1, y1, and of course x2. There's Mr. Fink again, y2. I'll answer him later. So we can go ahead and plug those numbers in. A will be equal to y2, which is 17.9, minus y1, 1.5. Divide that by x2, which is 26, minus x1, and again, I'm subtracting a negative here, so be careful. Very common error to just put minus 15. You have to remember that's a minus negative 15. And now I can come to the calculator if I don't get texted again and do a very quick subtraction. So 17.9, oh my god, like clockwork, minus 1.5 is equal to 16.4. I got to divide that by, clear, 26 minus negative 15, and I get 41. So let's reduce that fraction. Simplify it. 16.4 divided by 41, and I get 0.4. Now 0.4 is 4 over 10, and for those of you who like fractions, like for all one of you who like fractions, you could go ahead and use 4 over 10 for your A, but for the rest of us we will use 0.4 in the formula. And so if you think about it now, we know the value of that A. The last thing left to do in order to find the equation of the line is to find the B. It's always the A and the B that we need. And it would be wonderful if we knew, and don't confuse it, I should say, this B here has nothing at all to do with the name of this point over here, which I've called capital B. First of all, you'll notice that that's a lowercase b, that's capital B. But you should also remember that the B on the line will be where that line crosses the y-intercept. So I'll just use my red pen here just to indicate that. That little b that we're looking for is actually right there. And we can't read it off the graph because we don't have any scale. So we have to do it algebraically. And in order to do that algebraically, we're going to do it with a substitution. And the substitution works basically the way the others have previously. First, I'm going to take the time to identify what I know. Well, I know my A. My A is equal to 0.4. And now I need an x, and I need a y. And of course, I know that I'm going to be looking for that b afterwards. Now the x and the y have to come from somewhere, and in fact this time I actually have some options. It's not just one choice that I can make. I could choose either the x1, y1, or I could use x2, y2, and in fact you'll get the same answer for both points, which regardless of which one you use. And that's because the points are in the same line and because they use the same formula. You're able to interchange them. The thing is you got to make sure you use this x with this y, or this x with this y, and not mix them up. You can't use this x with this y, for example. So I'm going to use point 1. When in doubt, use point 1. You'll never go wrong. And I'm going to take a second to indicate that x1 is negative 15 and y1 is equal to 1.5. So once again, you can see I have 1, 2, 3 variables, and I'm looking for that fourth variable right there, that b. And since the equation only has 4 variables in it, I can go ahead and solve now. So I'm going to start off by writing out the general rule. Y is equal to ax plus b. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my substitution. And I'm going to write y, which I now know is 1.5. I know that my a is 0.4. And I know that my x is negative 15. Leaving me with the plus b at the end. Calculator time. I'm going to go ahead and change that into one number since it's just a basic multiplication. 1.5 will be equal to 0.4 times negative 15, and that's negative 6, plus b. And now, to isolate the b, I'm going to add 6, because that's a minus 6, and I have to do that to both sides, which is going to make no calculator. Now you ready? Shocking. 7.5. I can do that one in my head. Plus b. You're done. You've got the b. Now the last step is to put it all together. It's great that you know the a, and we know that the a is 0.4, and it's great that we know the b. B is 7.5. But at the end of the day, we need to change this general rule, which was up at the top of the question, into the specific rule for this line. And so this line will be written down now in the box where we've been asked for our answer. Y will be equal to a, which is 0.4, x, which is always going to change, just like the y will always change. But that a will always be a 0.4 for this particular line, and the b will always be a positive 7.5. Which means I now know where that line crosses on the y-axis, 7.5. It also tells me that I can answer the question that comes below, which is for letter B, 4b. And I'm going to do that one in the same video, so forgive me, this will be a little bit of a longer video, but you could always fast forward when you need to. So we are now going to find the missing y-coordinate if the x is 40. And so you can see down here I've given you that the x is 40, and we know the equation of the line because we figured it out just up here. And just to show you what we're actually finding at the top here, we're looking for this unknown y right there. So when the x is 40, what will the y be? Find that corresponding y when the x is 40. So just to show you that on the graph, that would be where my 40 would be for the x, and I'm looking for that unknown y right there. And so it's actually the easiest part of the question now, because you've done the most part of the work. You've identified the a and the b, and now once you know the a and the b, you can figure anything else out that you want. A is equal to 0.4, b is equal to 7.5, and we know that we know that the x is equal to 40. And what we're being asked to find is that y. So I know that one, I know that one, I know that one. That's the one I want. Come to the formula. Y, which is unknown, is equal to a, 0.4, x, which is 40, plus b, which we know is 7.5. All we have to do is simplify this statement now. There's no solving here. It's just really basic calculation. 0.4 times 40 plus 7.5. 0.4 times 40 is, no, can't be, I must have missed my decimal there. 0.4 times 40, 0.4 times 40, there we go, is 16 plus 7.5. So y, it will be equal to 23.5. So when the x is 40 in this particular line, the y will be 23.5. We know that that up there now is a 23.5. And we have finished number 4. One more to go.